You're listening to The People's Pitch, the official podcast of Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by footballstadiumprints.com. Let's start the show.
And as I talked about just a couple minutes ago, as Joe Watt stands over this one, he appears to be the one taking the penalty here. This is a huge confidence booster if you're Duluth.
Worst case scenario for City right here.
And it stopped! Yes! And it stopped!
Totally redeems himself.
Matt Elder redeeming himself. Oliver with the right foot. The shot is goal!
Oliver!
Justin Oliver will break the scoreless tie. And it is 1-0 Minneapolis City. Is Hutton now on the offense with the left foot.
Goal!
And it is now 2-0 Minneapolis City.
Good finish.
Nick Hutton taking his quick victory lap.
Welcome to the official podcast of your Elite Eight Minneapolis City Soccer Club. That's right. We are not just local heroes anymore. We are elite. This is the People's Pitch podcast where the soccer's hot, the takes are hotter, and the passion is off the charts. I'm your host, John, and joining me as always, my forever pod partner, the guy who somehow keeps coming back for more despite all the terrible puns and dad jokes, the Nate Morales. Nate, soccer has been a fucking gift lately, hasn't it?
Dude, it feels so fun to watch playoff soccer and just, the nerves around it and the elation. We'll cover off on all the big moments, of course, this episode. But, man, it's fun to be a Minneapolis City fan in late July, I tell you what.
Tonight, we're diving into the most insane playoff run imaginable, needing a 2-goal win on the final league day, and then taking down one of the country's best in Peoria City on penalties and absolutely dominating Sueño. Plus, we'll get you hyped for our club's first ever road trip west, hitting the West Coast, our journey to Seattle to face the Flint City Bucks, learn all about the Bucks, and of course, we will also preview the Minnesota Super Cup final this Saturday.
Yeah, man. Let's give the people what they want. We'll get started. The Crows kicked off their playoff run with I guess I'd consider this kind of a gut check against Peoria City. They were last year's national runner-up. They're a perennial powerhouse. Minneapolis City, John, has not had a lot of luck against Peoria when they were in the Heartland division over the last couple years, the USL2. What's that?
Zero luck, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I was trying to go easy, but yeah, no luck. And I think that on one level, approaching this game, I was like, hey man, we're just happy to be here, right? But on the other level, you want to win. But I think we were definitely the underdogs. But still, Minneapolis City came out swinging. We nabbed an early lead, really, really quick goal in this game before getting hit with an equalizer not 10 minutes later. And after that, the game turned into an all-out war of nerves. It featured missed penalties. It featured gutsy defending. It featured high pressure from the attacking line, creating chances, big momentum swings, and of course, that highlight reel bicycle kick from Preston Kipnusu that deserves its own mural, John.
Yeah, Nate, I was watching this one from the crowd at the Minnesota Yacht Club Music Fest, and I had to go back home and rewatch it again. Obviously, I couldn't pay 100% attention to it, but it was such a thriller. It literally had everything, and we just glossed over the fact that we missed the penalty. They converted their own in the first half, and had we done that, we wouldn't have maybe even seen bonus soccer, which was even more exciting.
Yeah, John, and that wasn't the only chance that Minneapolis City left squandered. I think there was, I think Joe Highfield had a phenomenal press against one of the center backs. Nice, got his foot out to deflect a pass, and the ball went straight up in the air. Highfield was able to chest it down, and I think he just pulled the trigger a little too soon. That would have been another one, right? It was surprising throughout this game how. I mean, Minneapolis City's offense has been good, right? We put 4 up on Sueño. Our offense was solid throughout the Heartland Division season. But to see on this level, once we're in the national playoffs, the ability to score and threaten and create chances in these big games at this biggest stage, it was really, really exciting. And everyone, John, everyone was bought in. Every player off the bench contributed. Minneapolis City emptied the tank, and the squad used all 7 bench subs. And after 120 minutes of drama, and 120 minutes of drama and got to be exhaustion at that point from the players, the sides could not be separated still. And it was Daniel Sessler delivering in the shootout with ice cold saves, John, standing tall for the first 2, saving the first 2 of them to seal the win as the Crows went sprinting on to celebrate with the traveling supporters. And John, we've been talking about Daniel Sessler, it feels like, for most of the second half of the season, as he has cemented himself as the Crows' #1 keeper. And it just feels like the narrative gets better and better every week for him. Not just a big playoff win, really a program-defining event marked by everything from the depths of despair as we're down 2-1 to belief that we could pull this off, to the jaw-dropping moments that Sessler was able to provide in that penalty shootout. So props to the team, props to him, John. What were your thoughts on this game?
Well, we talked about leading up to the game, Nate, that in our club history, we just find out ways to figure it out. And in the USL2, we had it up until this season. And wins like this, regardless of what happens after the fact, like you talked about, like, we're just happy to be there. It's starting to go into from the we're just happy to be there to the we deserve to be there category this season.
Yeah.
But as we go on, into the game this weekend, and hopefully many more, it's not only the people that support us, but the fact that this gives players the reason to choose us over other clubs for their summer soccer. So it's basically, like you said, it's a kind of a history defining moment for the club. But when we go to the biggest stage, like, we put on a show, like, win, lose, or draw, don't we?
It seems like it, man. I mean, thinking back to 2021 and some of our Open Cup runs, whether it was the one where Lionel Vang scored, the Vangers only match, right? Didn't win that game, but still put on a show. Or our match in Detroit City, where we were able to hold our own in the face of some of the craziest supporters in lower league soccer. It's you're right, and I think that this is something phenomenal for newer fans of the club to experience that maybe weren't around for those days or forgot about them, because, man, 4 years ago is a long time.
Yeah, I mean, but end of the day, like, it was, I totally agree with you. I was like, all right, well, let's see how this one goes. And I'm kind of casually listening to it while in one earbud while my wife and I are watching Sheryl Crow in the other ear. And I was like, oh my God, like, I had a tug on her shirt. I was like, I think we're going to do it. And she's like, what's happening? I'm like, we're in penalties right now. And she's like, oh, well, we gotta go watch it. So we're like huddled under a tree trying to get the best cell service we can. And it was just, I didn't know what to say afterwards other than, like, we fucking did it, man. Like, let's go do it again.
Yeah. Didn't it feel like after that penalty shootout, didn't it feel like we could have done it again the next day?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, basically we did, right? Following their marathon victory over Peoria City, the Crows did face a super quick turnaround to battle our Heartland rival Sueño FC just 49 hours later at that same stadium, Valley Stadium in Des Moines. And John, this is a Sueño team that pantsed the Des Moines Menace in their opening game. I think they beat them 4-2. It was not even close until the end when Des Moines were able to pull a couple goals back. What a surprise for Sueño to go down with something to prove and make it to this round, huh?
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you follow on social, like, even the folks down in Rochester for the other Loons were like, don't sleep on the Heartland Conference. Like, we're a legitimate contender for having top teams in the country, and us doing the job against the the national runners up from the year before. And then Sueño, who was second place in our conference and could have easily been first place if they would have had a few bounces go their way 49 hours earlier. They go and just take down the home side with a short bench. And you're like, okay. And then the belief really got stronger. But as far as like what happened in this one early on, I thought his best game of his career, honestly, in my opinion, with Minneapolis City, Bernardo Rule found Preston Kipnusu, who I don't know what happened. The defenders just kind of lost him in the shuffle that could have been a potential opportunity in their offensive third, and Bernard popped out with it, and then it just seemed like Preston got on his horse and he fed him through a long ball. But then that delivered just a stunning solo goal in front of a number of Preston's friends and family, being that he played his high school soccer on that Valley Stadium field, which is another storyline, right, in itself. He basically held off his defender, who was already on a yellow card and could have brought him down. That would have been a red, but he muscled him off, weaved past another defender, and finished with just a powerful low-driven shot underneath the goalkeeper. So then City's pressure from that point on was just relentless in the first half. Just before halftime, Andrew Heckenleibel pops up again. We talk about him just like what an end of the season he had. He doubled the lead with a phenomenal solo strike in traffic, just putting a left foot rocket around the 6-yard box right into the corner. And another demonstration of why this group is considered one of the toughest in the league. Defensively, I think we have to mention that Sueño was trouble for us in 2 appearances up top from their an attacking perspective. And also the Des Moines Menace found that out real quickly with a first half hat trick by what's his name? I forgot what his name is, but
Easton Bogard.
Yeah, Easton Bogard. That's what it was. So he had a first half hat trick. So that dangerous attack, we had to deal with it. And we absolutely did. Goalkeeper Daniel Sessler making a number of key saves in the second half, including a really good diving stop from Bogard in the 63rd minute, which I think was their best chance of the day. That could have easily made it 2-1. And then we have the drama that ensues. We know that Sueño is a late game team, but the entire second half, Nate, was Minneapolis City in kill mode. They used every ounce of that clock in their favor. Sueño fed right into it with a number of clumsy fouls and basically slowed down any momentum that they had.
Yeah, I mean, first thing I'll say about that is just a phenomenal day defensively from Minneapolis City. In a playoff match against a team like Sueño, to not give up a shot on target for 2/3 of the game is... we've never seen anything like that, right? And I think I've never seen a soccer game like that outside of, youth soccer. Sueño did have a few shots that were speculative at best, right? High and wide, skipped to the right or the left of the goalpost. Nothing that was really threatening at all in the entire first half. And so when we went into that locker room, up and came out pretty much like you said in lockdown mode, it just never felt like that game was in danger. There was a little bit of worry that they might pull one back for about 15 minutes around that 63rd minute time until maybe the 75th or 80th, and then but other than that, man, this game was in total control.
And I think that it was once again against Sueño. It was the substitutions and them getting on the same page together that saw that brief period that you mentioned. It happened to us when we were playing at Edor Nelson Field at home, where we made the substitutions to lock things down, and then I don't want to say unfamiliarity because they're teammates, but like centrally the new players that came in, like it was kind of figuring out where to go and who to mark and where to be. And I saw that again happen, but it obviously didn't come by way of the goal like it did in the second meeting with them. So
real quick, John, I want to also call out the Preston Kipnusu goal that opened the scoring that ended up to be the game winner. And I know that the bike was flashy. The bike made SportsCenter top 10, number 2, right? But I'll say, John, that goal against Sueño is really the one that should be turning heads from from professional scouts, because when
Starting
you think
at the
about
run.
it, the run, I mean, this is the total package. The run was perfectly timed. I even thought he might have been offside just by the way by the time the camera pulled over. But I think if you're even with Preston, you're behind.
He
right?
was on our half when the ball was played.
Yeah. So the run, speedy. The first touch to pull that ball out of the air just with his toe was perfect, right into his stride. The way that he stayed at top speed, heading to goal, was able to use his strength in his body to keep the Swainue defender off of him. And you can see in the pictures, that guy was like hanging on his shoulder like some sort of a parrot. The way that he was able to use his strength to keep his balance, keep this guy off him at the same time, and then hit that shot and score that goal with power and accuracy. Like, that is an absolute total package goal right there.
Absolutely. Well, I had the chance to catch up with Coach Justin Oliver briefly this week after the madness and ask him a couple questions. And he said that despite the fireworks on the national stage, that the group, it's special because it's continuing to go about their process with limited changes. Like, they're keeping control of what they can control and not worrying about anyone else. And he also highlighted that on the big stage, you need your big players to step up. And you just mentioned it, whether it's Preston up top, Joe Highfield, if it's Swollen and Morgan Olson, who had a dominant midfield performance over 2 games centrally, or it's the back three in front of Sessler and including Sessler not giving opponents an inch. And lastly, he keyed in on the support from the fans, providing like a home atmosphere on the road, which I think is great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is one of the things that is the differentiator for Minneapolis City. If we're going to play you regionally, our team travels so well. Paul said it last week, right? We travel so well. And you can look at those pictures and be like, what is there, like 24 people there? If that, like, that's not super impressive. But the fact that they're there, it's more than zero, right? And you and I have said that the fan experience at so many of these other clubs is so bad that when our supporters show up, it makes the biggest difference to the players, just to hear the same chants, to know that they're playing for someone, to know that they're playing for something. And you saw it as Sessler runs the team over to the supporters first thing, right? They're not mobbing each other and jumping on top of each other in the far corner after Kowalski scores that winning penalty. It's sprint, beeline to the supporters, the people that made it all happen, and that's so key. Like, that's so much credit to the supporters for making that trip.
Yeah, and we also get the casuals that come to the game. They start to cheer for us because, like, the club cares and the fans that travel care. It's just great from start to finish. The other thing that I wanted to mention too is that Justin would talk about, like, that from not just Justin, but everybody I talked to after the game, but Justin in particular noted that the team has really created a special bond together. And I do know that winning does help that. So let's just state the obvious here. But what it also is doing is allowing them, I think, to play freer and with a lot of trust. And that trust not only goes on the field, but also goes beyond this team as well, Nate. As a number of players on the roster were allowed to come back from their college training camps for the playoff matches, which I think that trust piece shows that these big time programs believe that what we're doing to be a home for their players in the summer, we're doing it correctly, and it gives them the comfort level that their players rejoining us is for something. And we've never been afforded that opportunity. We mentioned the Detroit City game. I mean, it was our biggest playoff game to date before these playoff games in the MPSL, and we couldn't even get one player released and had to travel with 12 guys that had to get off of work to go on the trip. It's just a lot of things are starting to happen, and it's just like, man, we are back, baby. Like, from guys on the field, the talent, the coaching staff, the fans, the club, the college coaches allowing their players to come back. Like, it's all come together, and it's not even over yet.
Yeah, that's worth mentioning too, John, that Joe Highfield, Andrew Heckenlabel, goal scorers, both of them had gone to college early. Like, right, we lost them. The St. Croix game was the last one for both of them around July 4th.
And Ian Schultz, and he actually picked up an ankle injury in training camp, and he would have been released to come back with us.
Yeah, and so these are D1 programs, solid D1 programs in Portland, St. Louis, Notre Dame, right? Allowing their players to travel for the weekend, take time off of whatever the coaches are trying to do there because they believe in what's going on. And I think that so much of it is that team building environment, the ability for them to develop and to experience big games as part of a team and to be a leader in a big game as some of these guys are. Like, that is really important. And I'm really proud that Minneapolis City is at the point where we can provide that for players.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about what's up next in the round of 8, Nate. That rhymes. Didn't mean to do it on purpose. Up next for City is a clash with one of the most decorated clubs in USL League 2 history. That would be the Flint City Bucks, formerly the Michigan Bucks. They were founded in 1995, so they've been around for quite a long time. Played in the PDL before it turned into the USL2. And the Bucks have built just a legacy as perennial contenders. They've amassed 4 USL League 2 / PDL national playoff championships. That's 4 being the first ever 4-time champion.
Dang.
They have 5 USL2 regular season titles. They have 10 conference titles and 16 Great Lakes Division titles. So the Bucks also have qualified for the U.S. Open Cup on 11 occasions and taken down some of the best mid-level professional sides in the country. So this isn't your run-of-the-mill pre-professional soccer program, Nate. The Bucks are an absolute buzzsaw.
Yeah, John, I had to do a little research on the Bucks. It seems like this season is really no different. They're just keeping that train rolling. They've got a system. They've got a legacy there, and this year is the same, more of the same. Flint's coming into the Elite 8 with a 9-3-0 record. They've got a knack for surviving postseason pressure. But this path to the playoffs this year has not been super easy. They just edged out the League 2 newcomers Steel City FC in a 4-3 round of 32 shootout, and they were able to outlast Fort Wayne 2-0 in extra time in the round of 16. I think that's a game that was 0-0 going into, in the 90th minute, and it was just the Bucks had dug a little deeper and found those 2 goals to knock Fort Wayne off. Their big danger man is forward Donovan Phillip. He's been the difference maker. He's got 3 goals across the 2 playoff matches so far, including that dramatic 118th minute winner against Fort Wayne. So this club, they've got a deep roster. They've got a long history of playoff experience. I think this is, if you think that Peoria was a game for us to get nervous about and to just hope we can perform at this level, I think Flint is that times 5, right? This is the ultimate veteran test on City's first ever West Coast postseason trip.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? We thought we ran into a buzzsaw in Peoria City, so you never know, Nate.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Remember, Minneapolis City plays on Friday afternoon, 4 p.m. Central. You can stream that game online at sportsengineplay.com. I'm sure the citizens will have a watch party. Just take a look on social media and see if you want to join them too. So one more thing before we wrap up this week's show, we got to check in on the Minnesota Super Cup, where the Minneapolis City badge will still be represented, just with a little bit of a twist.
And yeah, Nate, with the first team away on their epic USL2 national playoff run, Minneapolis City 2, led by Coach Josh Roy and Derek Johnson, will be stepping up to carry the club's torch in the Super Cup campaign. I think this is a unique test for our deep player pool. I think it's why we have a deep player pool, and I think it gives our kind of some of the rising younger talent in the MC2 in the MC2 side some serious minutes in a tournament spotlight with the trophy on the line as they face Duluth FC, who's had plenty of a lengthy layoff since being ousted in the NPSL North Conference playoffs for the second year in a row after being the regular season champs, this time by joy of the people. And Nate, I'm just going to put this PSA out there. We were the only club that said that when we were in the NPSL North that there should not be a league playoff, that the winner of the league should automatically go into the national playoffs. And everyone disagreed, but it had to be a majority vote. And once we left, they voted it in, and Duluth has been the regular season champions twice and lost in the playoffs. So maybe it's a bad idea if you're Duluth.
Yeah, that bet they're regretting that vote. I think
dumb.
We're hearing a lot of people regretting votes lately.
Just to get a number one seed to potentially not make the playoffs. Like,
no kidding.
Like, why?
Exactly.
Anyways, enough about them.
Yeah, well, the other thing that's interesting about this game, John, is we're at the final without having played a semifinal. That game was supposed to take place last Wednesday, the Wednesday before our game against Peoria, but it was forfeited by St. Croix. So I think that's super interesting to me because given the circumstances, we probably would have had to field an MC2 heavy team anyway. I'm wondering why, if you've heard, or if you can,
I haven't
heard anyone speculate why St. Croix decided they weren't going to play that game and just bow out of the Super Cup.
Yeah, I have not heard. I'd have to believe, though, that they had a number of players also going back and had thought, looking through their own tea leaves, that maybe we would be coming back from the playoffs angry and with a stronger lineup than they could put out. I don't know.
Yeah, well, missed their chance. This John has the sheen of a rematch, as you remember that Duluth beat MC2 in I think it was a Memorial Day weekend friendly at the beginning of the summer. Mm-hmm. And so MC2 has something to prove here, to show development, show that they can grow, improve, and adapt. If you remember, if you watched that game, Duluth took it 2-0, pretty much cruising to a first half lead that could have been more and really was never in danger. But you know that Josh Roy and the boys have been studying that film. They know it back and forth. They've been working on adjustments. And I think that MC2 is going to come out looking a little different, looking a little more threatening. On the Duluth side, I'll say just because their season's over doesn't mean they're not going to be all in for this game and a chance to earn a little clout and some silverware. I think, say what you will about Duluth, but they have always been committed to building the game in Minnesota, and I think this is just another way that they can prove that Duluth and a place outside of Minneapolis has a say in building that game.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're interested in this matchup, the location is McAllister College in St. Paul. Kickoff is Saturday, July 26th at 6 p.m. For tickets, head on over to mnsupercup.com. And as far as watching it from afar, keep an eye out on either the Minneapolis City or the Minnesota Super Cup social channels, and streaming details will be provided closer to game time.
Yeah. And that's going to do it for this week's show. Big thanks, as always, to our longtime sponsor, footballstadiumprints.com. You can hit that site up for awesome prints and gear. And don't forget to use that code CROWS10 for 10% off. Remember, Minneapolis City is a 501c3, so your ticket or membership isn't just supporting soccer. It's not just supporting the team. It's helping a community-focused club that does things the right way. If you want to reach out, you can find John and I on Twitter X at The People's Pitch, on Instagram at People's Pitch Podcast, or you can email us at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, you can always follow the club everywhere on the social media at MPLS City SC. Well, next week we're going to have the recap of the rest of the USL2 playoff action for this weekend. Fingers crossed. Perhaps a trip to the National Final Four, and a look at some more of the USL2 playoff soccer scenarios, as well as a recap of this Saturday's Minnesota Super Cup final. But until then,
got hooked.